Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam says, 𝗙𝗲𝗪 च निष्णातं ब्रह्मणि उपशमाश्रयम्. You should go to a person, an authority who is 𝗙𝗲, who is knowledgeable. 𝗙𝗲 means knowledge, and 𝗪 means realization of that knowledge, which goes beyond knowledge. That is realization. Now, one thing very important question to all of us is, how do we know that we are advancing in devotion? So the criteria is, one is knowledge, 𝗙𝗲. So when you get knowledge of Krishna consciousness and you understand the concepts, this means you are advancing in devotion. But mere knowledge is not that appreciable in the eyes of God, Krishna. You have to go beyond knowledge, which is realization of that knowledge, which is called as 𝗪, as we just told. That is called anubhav in Sanskrit. So I'll give you an example. Suppose we know that holy name of Krishna is non-different from Krishna. So we might have this information, this knowledge, and we chant with this knowledge that holy name of Krishna is non-different from Krishna, but many don't have realization of this fact. But few who chant as prescribed by the scriptures in the proper mood, with the proper attitude, then what happens is we get realization of this fact that holy name is Krishna himself. Now, what's the difference between realization and knowledge? At the level of knowledge, even if we chant with this conception, holy name of God is God himself, a mind will be wavering all around the word. Mind will be disturbed, sometimes peaceful, sometimes disturbed. But if we have realization that holy name is Krishna himself, it is impossible for a mind to waver and get distracted and be disturbed. Because we know that Krishna is with us in form of holy name. That's the realization. So at the level of knowledge, we don't get full effects. But at the level of realization, we get almost all the effects of chanting the holy names. But I want to bring a point here. There's something beyond realization also. Now, technically, knowledge is called as 𝗪𝗪𝗀 𝗃. Srila Prabhupada mentions in one of his room conversations. And beyond knowledge is realization, which is technically called as 𝗪𝗪𝗀 𝗪𝗪𝗀 𝗃. And this word is used in Madhva Sampradaya a lot. And Madhvacharya calls a realized devotee as 𝗪𝗪𝗀 𝗃. But then there are stages beyond 𝗪𝗪𝗀 𝗃, which is 𝗪𝗪𝗀 and aprakrita. Now, what are those? Now, beyond realization, there is a stage which is called as Ritam in Sanskrit. If you read Vedas, this concept is very much evident and very important in Vedic knowledge, Ritam. When you talk about dharma, this concept Ritam comes. When you talk about love of God, this concept Ritam comes. Of course, in a different way, in different terminology, but the concept of Ritam is there. In Chinese philosophy, this Ritam is called as Ren, and it cannot be defined properly. Why? Because Ritam means sense of religion, the sense of devotion, the sense of love of God. Now, this sense is very different from realization and knowledge. Now you take the same example. Suppose knowledge means I have information, holy name and God is different. It is same, one and the same thing, and non-different. Realization is the fact that when I chant the holy names, I feel Krishna is with me, because I know chant holy name and Krishna's name and Krishna is non-different. So I feel his presence. That's the level of anubhav, realization. But beyond there is a sense of devotion. Now, what is this sense? The sense of devotion here in this specific example is, I have a sense that this realization which I have got, it's true, It's not false. I am feeling Krishna is there in me. It's true. It's truth, it's reality. It's not imagination, it's not false. That's called as Ritam. One aspect of Ritam in this context of example. So that sense is there. Now, of course, we have to check whether that our sense is correct in this example in sensing that whether this realization Krishna is with me is true or false. But that sense is always there, which is also called as cognition in philosophical language. But I don't want to bring that concept here, but that sense is there. Now, so sense and realization is different. Now, we may have so many realizations about holy name, about preaching, about management of Krishna consciousness, about our conduct with devotees. We might have so many we might have so many realizations. But to harmonize those realizations, you need a sense of devotion. Otherwise, it will become very contradictory. I'll give you an example which you can understand. Like suppose you're writing a novel, a romantic novel, or a novel about romance, and you're writing about girlfriend and boyfriend and lust and sex, like that. Now, in that novel, you might write many chapters, many things in that novel romance. You might write the girlfriend and boyfriend were talking in a park, and people understand that that's lust. You might also write the boyfriend and girlfriend were sitting in the park and they were not talking at all. But nevertheless, you will understand that's also lust. You might write the girl says to boy, I love you. But then you might write the girl actually never talks to the boyfriend and she avoids. But then you know how lust, you have a sense of lust. So we understand that all these actions, whether acceptance or rejection, it's all to increase lust. You see, the sense is there. We need the sense, and that's why I was telling to one devotee. So we were just talking casually, and I was just telling in a lecture that, okay, you write a novel about lust, and whatever you write will be 100% perfect. There will be no fault in that, because he has a sense of lust. Similarly, when pure devotees write scriptures, Prabhupada writes Bhagavatam, Krishna says whatever flows from your pen will be 100% perfect and devotion, because they have sense of devotion. And that's why Srila Prabhupada and great acharyas, they have so many realizations, but they know which realizations to express at a particular circumstances and which realizations to not express. So Srila Prabhupada went to America and he didn't express esoteric things of devotion in that initial days of Iskcon. He didn't in his lectures. He had that sense not to express because people were very new. So he put it. He actually he hid it within himself. He didn't express it. He kept it within himself. So that sense is very important. Another example Madhvacharya gives of Krishna himself. Krishna knows what is lust. He knows everything. He also knows what's lust. And if anybody is lusty, he can understand that person is lusty. But is Krishna lusty? We are lusty, so we have sense of lust. But is Krishna lusty? No. Krishna is not lusty, but he has sense of lust. That's why he can understand what's lust. It's similarly with sadhus. Sadhus can clearly see new devotee that he is falling in trap with a female, Mataji. Now, how can he tell? Is sadhu having lust? If you say he's having lust, that's a problem there. He is not having lust, but he has a sense of lust. Just like it is said, Madhva gives another example. Krishna knows how people are suffering in hell. He understands their suffering. But is Krishna becoming unhappy when he is seeing suffering of the souls who are suffering in hell? No, he is always happy. But he has a sense of suffering, so he understands that they are suffering a lot. So this is called Ritam, a sense of devotion, which is very different from knowledge and realization. And why we have these three things? Because knowledge you can get from scriptures, realization you can get from practice of scriptures, and sense you can get from mercy of devotees and Guru. That's the idea. So that is why we need all three. We need scriptures, we need practice, sadhana, and we need mercy, so that we get all three: knowledge, realization, and sense. These are successive stages: first knowledge, realization, and then when we get a lot of realizations, then we develop a sense of devotion. So this is very interesting point, and it also explains why we need mercy of God, because without mercy you cannot develop sense. Why we need association of good devotees, because without them we cannot have sense. We can have knowledge from scriptures, we can have realization from practice, but if you want sense, which is a base and foundation of devotion, sense of devotion, there, or Ritam, then we need association of devotees who have this Ritam, and also mercy of Vaishnavas. So, and this concept also comes in Bhagavatam, but it's mentioned there. You have to read properly the verses. It is said Vyasadeva wrote Bhagavatam in complete maturity. What is maturity? That is sense of devotion. Rupa Goswami, our Goswamis, they consulted so many scriptures and took out devotion from there. Nana Shastra Nipuna, Nana Shastra Vicharane ka Nipuna. How they could select what is devotional, what is not devotional? By the sense of devotion. So remember these three things: knowledge, realization, and sense. Hare Krishna, 𝗙liche Prabhupada ki jai.